Route 66 is more than just a road. For nearly 60 years, it connected communities, fueled businesses, carried dreamers westward, and became one of the most recognizable symbols of the American experience. Even today, decades after it was officially removed from the United States highway system, Route 66 remains famous around the world. Its iconic shield appears on signs, postcards, T-shirts, and souvenirs. Travelers from across the globe still drive surviving stretches of the old route, searching for a glimpse of the America that once existed along its path. But Route 66 was never intended to become a legend. It began as a practical transportation project. Before Route 66 existed, traveling long distances across America was difficult and often unpredictable. During the early 20th century, automobiles were becoming increasingly common, but the nation's road network was poorly developed. Many roads were unpaved. Some were little more than dirt trails. Drivers often relied on local knowledge to navigate unfamiliar areas. Recognizing the need for a national highway system, transportation planners proposed a network of numbered roads connecting major regions of the country. One of the strongest advocates for a new transcontinental route was Oklahoma businessman Cyrus Avery. Avery believed a diagonal highway stretching across the country would benefit both major cities and small communities. His efforts helped shape what would eventually become Route 66. On November 11, 1926, Route 66 was officially established. The highway stretched approximately 2,448 miles from Chicago, Illinois, to Santa Monica, California. Along the way, it crossed 8 states: Illinois, Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and California. The route connected hundreds of towns and communities that had previously been isolated from major transportation corridors. For farmers, merchants, and travelers, Route 66 represented opportunity. Businesses could move goods more efficiently. Families could travel farther than ever before. Small towns suddenly found themselves connected to a growing national economy. Few people realized that Route 66 would soon play a crucial role during one of the most difficult periods in American history. In 1929, the Great Depression devastated the United States. Banks failed, businesses collapsed. Millions of Americans lost their jobs. At the same time, a severe environmental disaster struck the Great Plains. Years of drought, combined with poor farming practices, created massive dust storms that destroyed farmland across Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas, Colorado, and New Mexico. The catastrophe became known as the Dust Bowl. Entire communities were devastated. Families watched their crops fail and their livelihoods disappear. With little hope remaining, many packed everything they owned into cars and trucks and headed west toward California. For these migrants, Route 66 became a lifeline. Thousands traveled along the highway, searching for work, opportunity, and a chance to rebuild their lives. Photographs from the era show overloaded vehicles carrying entire families and all their possessions. The road became a symbol of hope during desperate times. Author John Steinbeck captured this migration in his famous novel, The Grapes of Wrath. In the book, Steinbeck referred to Route 66 as the Mother Road. The nickname became permanently associated with the highway. By the end of the 1930s, Route 66 had become one of America's most important transportation routes. Its significance would continue to grow during World War II. Following the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, the United States entered the war. Route 66 suddenly became a strategic military asset. Troops traveled along the highway. Military equipment was transported westward. Factories located near the route increased production to support the war effort. The highway also provided access to military installations throughout the Southwest. Communities along Route 66 experienced rapid growth during these years. Businesses benefited from increased traffic. New jobs were created. The road became even more deeply connected to the American economy. When the war ended in 1945, Route 66 entered what many consider its golden age. The post-war years brought unprecedented prosperity. Americans purchased new automobiles in record numbers. Families took vacations across the country. Road trips became a defining part of American culture. Route 66 was perfectly positioned to benefit. Thousands of businesses emerged to serve travelers. Motels offered affordable overnight accommodations. Diners served hungry motorists. Gas stations appeared in nearly every town. Roadside attractions competed for attention with giant signs, unusual architecture, and bright neon lighting. Entrepreneurs understood that capturing the attention of passing travelers could determine whether a business succeeded or failed. Some attractions became legendary. The wigwam motels allowed guests to sleep in teepee-shaped rooms. The Blue Whale of Catoosa became one of the route's most recognizable landmarks. Jack Rabbit Trading Post attracted travelers with its famous slogan, "Here it is." Every community along Route 66 sought to create something memorable. The route quickly became more than a transportation corridor. It became a cultural icon. Songs celebrated the highway. Television shows featured it. Movies used it as a backdrop for stories about freedom and adventure. For many Americans, Route 66 represented the promise of the open road. Yet, even as the highway reached the peak of its popularity, forces were already threatening its future. In 1956, President Dwight D. Eisenhower signed the Federal Aid Highway Act. The legislation launched the Interstate Highway System. The new interstates were designed for speed, efficiency, and safety. Unlike Route 66, many interstate highways bypassed small towns entirely. Travelers could move across the country more quickly than ever before. As new sections of interstate opened, traffic gradually shifted away from Route 66. The effects were immediate and often devastating. Businesses that depended on highway traffic began to suffer. Motels lost customers. Gas stations closed. Restaurants struggled to survive. Entire communities experienced economic decline. Some towns were bypassed almost overnight. For decades, travelers had provided the lifeblood of these communities. Without that traffic, many local economies collapsed. Bustling roadside businesses became abandoned buildings. Neon signs went dark. Parking lots sat empty. One section of Route 66 after another was replaced by interstate highways. The process continued for nearly 3 decades. Eventually, little remained of the original route within the national highway system. Then came the final blow. In 1985, Route 66 was officially decommissioned. After nearly 60 years of service, America's most famous highway ceased to exist as an official federal route. For many communities, it felt like the end of an era. Yet, Route 66 refused to disappear completely. Across the country, preservation groups began working to protect remaining portions of the highway. Former motels were restored. Neon signs were repaired. Museums opened to celebrate the road's history. Gradually, interest in Route 66 began to grow once again. Tourists from around the world traveled to experience surviving sections of the highway. Places like Cadillac Ranch in Texas, the Wigwam Motel in Arizona, and countless small-town museums continue attracting visitors today. Although much of the original highway has disappeared, its legacy remains remarkably strong. Few roads have influenced American culture as deeply as Route 66. It helped connect a growing nation. It carried migrants during the Great Depression. It supported military operations during World War II. It fueled the post-war tourism boom. Most importantly, it became a symbol of freedom. Nearly a century after its creation, the Mother Road continues to capture imaginations around the world. Its pavement may be broken in places. Its signs may be faded, but its story endures. And for countless travelers, Route 66 will always represent the spirit of adventure that helped define America.